Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wired for Growth, brought to you by Winona IT. I'm your host, Michael Paul, president and founder of Winona IT, where we deliver tailored IT support, cybersecurity, and custom software solutions to help your business thrive. In today's episode, I'm joined by Ryan Christner, president, CEO of OrthoWorx, the organization working to strengthen the orthopedic industry's ecosystem right here in Warsaw, Indiana, and beyond. We'll explore the role OrthoWorx plays in the orthopedic capital of the world, future of talent and innovation in Warsaw, and what's at stake for our community and this industry. Let's get started. Ryan, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Ryan, you recently received a promotion to the CEO position at OrthoWorx. How long have you been in that position now?
I mean, time flies. We're going on 7 or 8 months now.
7 or 8 months. How has that time period been for you? It's an adjustment.
It is. You know, a lot of folks have mentioned it's drinking from a fire hose. I'd say it's not drinking. It's just getting a fire hose.
Okay.
But it's been good, you know. Yeah. Coming off the heels of some great leadership in the past of OrthoWorx helps a lot. And having a really good staff helps a lot. And having a really good board of directors helps a lot. So I'd say it's lessened the blow. But we have a lot of irons in the fire, and it's a good spot to be.
Yeah. Why don't you start off? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, some of your passions, your family. Give us some background.
Yeah, absolutely. Born and raised here in Kosciuszko County. I am a Wawasee guy, so I enjoy being in Tiger territory as a warrior. I make that known often as I can. But athlete as adolescent age, got into really found a love for the outdoors through Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout, and really enjoyed that experience. I actually got a lot of my community involvement kind of drive through community service projects that we did in Scouts. But then just continued to thrive here in our community, went off to college for a little while and then came back and finished up at Grace College. And along the way, met my wife from high school. We've been together. It'll be 17 years in June.
Wow.
And we've got 4 children, 12, 10, 7, and 4. So our house is a little bit loud and rowdy most days, but it keeps it very interesting, and we couldn't expect it any other way.
So little known fact. So my folks came over the other day for dinner, and they brought something. They were cleaning out their house. They brought something over on a coat hanger, and I was like, what is this? It was my Boy Scout uniform.
Nice.
So
I did not know.
I didn't make it to Eagle. I made it to one step short to life.
Okay.
But really enjoyed my experience as well. Learned a lot, and trying to think, some of the terms are going to be lost on me now, but Order of the Arrow and stuff like that. I got a chance to participate in a lot of that, and I look forward on resumes now. I don't know if you do too, but
I would say over the course of my career, that's the number one thing people have asked me about most of the time is that, and more of the extracurricular stuff that I've been involved in than it is my actual, work experience.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which is interesting and telling about the hiring process.
Yeah. Well, great. Tell us a little bit more about your family and just some of the things you guys are into these days.
Yeah. So just with having a young family, I had the outdoors were instilled in me at a young age, and so we've continued to do that with our kids. We live out in the country on a couple acres, and we've had a garden. We've had chickens at times.
Nice.
Done that whole thing. I didn't grow up out in the country, so some of that's kind of new experiences for us, but we really get very involved in the outdoors with hunting and fishing, and we do a little bit of trapping and all the stuff along the way. So if you can't find us at home, we're typically outside somewhere.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. What was some of the work you were doing before before joining OrthoWorx?
A little bit of my story is actually kind of the impetus of why OrthoWorx exists for talent development standpoint. I'd say I was a lost career seeker.
Okay.
I didn't know exactly what I wanted to get into. I remember taking this aptitude test probably 6th or 7th grade, and it said I would be a zoologist.
Okay.
But I had no idea what that even meant. Like, obviously, I love critters, and I like biology and that type of stuff, but I just kind of looked at that and said, I don't want to work at a zoo, and kind of moved on from there. So throughout the course of my early education and then even into college, bounced around. I think I had 3 different majors at some point, and landed on sports management. So decided that sports management might not be exactly what I wanted to get into. And so got into orthopedics, and that's where I've spent the last 15 years. Variety of different companies, but mostly contract manufacturers. So we have a really good network of contract manufacturers here in the Warsaw area. And the thing that I appreciate, looking back, the thing that I appreciate the most is the opportunity to understand like the industry, how products are made, and a little bit of, kind of the frontline worker support. I got to know a lot of really good CNC machinists and polishers and quality people, and
that's great.
All people along the way. So it's been a great experience for me. Did a little bit of supply chain, so I got to get a little bit closer to the patient, understand what sales reps work on day in and day out to serve our patients well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, talk to us a little bit. What is OrthoWorx? I want to start there because I think there's a lot of opportunity there to inform people on really what this organization is all about.
For sure. Yeah. And OrthoWorx started in 2009 as a community development organization to effectively help the orthopedic industry that's such an economic driver for our community, for our state, and actually for our nation. So Dr. Manahan and there's a handful of others that got together around the table and came up with this idea. It's mirrored very closely with some of the other organizations you might have heard around the state, like BioCrossroads or AgriNovus, those types of organizations that kind of represent an industry or a segment of business across the state. And we've gone through lots of different chapters, and I call them eras typically. But as we've gone through these eras, we've been heavy research. We've been helping with our local schools set up STEM education certifications and things like that. And we've continued to kind of evolve as the industry's evolved. So we've been around for going on 17 years now. I'd argue we got the best era is yet to come here. So we do a lot. I would say, our mission is to advance the orthopedic industry for generations to come. And we do that through our three main pillars: talent development, community enrichment, and industry innovation is what we focus on. And so that's what we get up every day and think about.
That's wonderful. Give me an example of something that might fall into each of those three pillars.
Yeah, so traditionally we are known for our talent development efforts. We have programming that we do K through 12, STEM education, helping out in the elementary schools with their STEM programs, on up into high school. We help with career discovery. So right now in the state of Indiana, career discovery kind of happens in your 8th grade year. And so we do a program called Discover Me in the fall, where we get in the classroom with all the area 8th graders, and we actually have a VR headset that's an experience about the orthopedic industry, and it helps students kind of see themselves in careers in orthopedics, and that kind of starts the excitement in them to maybe choose a pathway when they get to high school, precision machining, industry 4.0, engineering, something like that.
Yeah, that's great. Now, just prior to your promotion here to the CEO role, you were at OrthoWorx in a different capacity. What were you doing then?
Yeah, so a little bit over a year ago in November, I was hired as the executive director of the Orthopedic Industry Retention Initiative.
Okay.
We call it ORI for short, just because it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
I think it was the longest title I've ever had. We were given $30 million from the state of Indiana in the form of a grant. It was a budget line item that is focused on retaining the orthopedic industry talent for our area, attracting and retaining it. So we have 11 different projects that make up that $30 million that we want to be kind of seed money to get these projects off the ground. So in any project, we're not funding the entirety of the program, but we're helping get a project up off the ground.
Sure.
So, think about attainable housing. We've got a community amenities program. We're looking to put in an orthopedic innovation center and research center. But then we're also partnered with Grace College on 5 projects that they've got some projects that they're working on as well. Business Innovation Center is one of them. They're working on a community field house. They're renovating the Gordon Health and Wellness Center to be more community focused. So those are the types of projects that we're helping. And I would say in general, it's all about quality of life. Is we want to make this place an even better place for people to live in the future.
Yeah, no, that's great. Big question for you here, but what's really at stake if that funding or even OrthoWorx mission, if you guys don't get it right?
Well, one, we're responsible to the state and the state of Indiana to make sure that this is a good investment for the state.
Sure.
So we're constantly tracking the matrix of what's the ROI for our investments in these projects. So that's at stake, number one. But more importantly, I think what's at stake is we saw it a number of years ago when a company in town announced that they were leaving. They were going to pull their facility out of here, and they were going to actually offshore it. And that's kind of the first domino that could fall. We've got a rich history, 130 years of orthopedics here. We've got over 5 generations of manufacturing expertise that's from this area. Yeah. And it's known globally as being that. But if we don't have people waking up every day fighting for that, it'll go away and it'll get claimed somewhere else.
What is the real inception? How did this area become known for orthopedics? I'm so curious about that.
Yeah, you're going to test if Dr. Hoffert was here. He's a history guy. He'd probably be a little bit better at it than me. 130 years ago, Reverend Depew found his way here to Winona Lake and started Depew, making some splints and things like that. And Justin Zimmer actually worked for Depew. And as you can naturally understand, that there was a break off there, and he started Zimmer at the time. And it's just continued to evolve. I mean, it's interesting as you unpack the history, you can see where the family tree, it's intertwined quite a bit. And there's startups that happen out of big companies and groups of people kind of get together all throughout their career and start up different businesses, and innovation happens along the way. Yeah.
You mentioned a couple big names, a couple big organizations. Some of the, I'll call it rumor mill, if you would, is that, talent is leaving for the coasts and that, we are at risk. Are you seeing that right now, or are we holding on for the most part at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there is a stronghold that we're trying to make here. Obviously, the state's invested in it. Yeah. And some of that comes even bigger picture than just our community. Indiana's home to some major R1 institutions. You've got IU, Purdue, Notre Dame, Ball State, and there's plenty of other schools around. Rose-Hulman that are producing world-class students to become leaders, and a lot of them leave Indiana. So we're paying for many of them to get an education and then leave. So it's definitely very vital for us to continue to push to retain that talent. And we do see where there's some talent that's going to the coast, but we also see where future generations are actually appreciating the lifestyle that you get here in the Midwest. Yeah. A little bit different than past generations.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
What's it like to really lead, a regional initiative for global industry? I mean, it seems like a lot of decisions are made locally, but a lot of them are made by folks outside of this community. What's that like?
Yeah, that can be a bit of a challenge, in this day and age, and it's really a result of lots of mergers and acquisitions that have happened, where we've got these companies that were big to start with, and now they've added more and more companies, and maybe their headquarters are all over the country. Yeah. And it's hard sometimes to get the attention of people that don't live here and help them to understand the importance of our community, the lifeblood that we are here, the lifeline, and making sure that they're invested and kind of their money is where their mouth is when it comes to making sure we're taking care of the people that are getting it done every day.
I think I know the answer to this next one, but I just wanted to ask it anyway. Do you see Kosciuszko County really in the future being a legitimate hub for, medtech innovation? Do you really see that materializing?
I do. There's always been a balance between expertise in manufacturing and innovation. And the thing that I'm reminded of often is the home runs, grand slams, they don't happen overnight.
Sure.
And so when you look at some of our success stories, and I would say even as of recent, you look at orthopediatrics that started in 2009, 2010, I think it was. Yeah. And, they've got a pretty good thing going on over
Absolutely.
there. Ignite Orthopedics is more of a recent one. But again, it happened in a number of years, but it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So some of these things take a little bit of time to really get going.
Yeah.
But all along the way, innovation is happening. Yeah. So I do think, when we go to Purdue and talk to, biomechanical engineers, they know where Warsaw is. Mm-hmm. They know that the orthopedic capital is here. And they're always interested to come here. So
yeah, that's great.
We're just trying to welcome them with open arms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Ryan, people outside of industry, when they hear about a shift from kind of traditional orthopedics more into med tech, break that down for us for those that might not understand what that means exactly.
So I think I'm going to unpack that one in a couple different ways, maybe a little bit different than what you asked it. So the marketplace has changed a lot dramatically in the last several years. Yeah. And there's been a rise in ambulatory surgery centers where some of your surgeries are happening more of an outpatient surgery than you are inpatient surgery. But what that means to our manufacturers is what used to be a 100-piece instrument set may only have a handful of instruments now. Sure. And it's in a smaller, for lack of a better term, a lunchable. Yeah, it's like a peel it, use whatever you need, and then you throw it away. It's a disposable market. They just don't have the infrastructure at these ASCs to clean the instruments for the next use. So it's more effective for them to just, use it and throw it away. So that's changed the ball game a little bit. So where that breaks down to our manufacturing folks is they used to be contracted to do 100 different pieces. Sure. Now they're doing a handful. Okay. So that affects the market a little bit. From a med tech standpoint, we're entering into a new phase where, research and doctors are looking for wearable devices that can give us data. Obviously the buzz is data and AI and what we do with that information. Everything's indicating that we're looking into the future that, right now orthopedics is usually post the problem. Like you have a hip that's degenerative or you've got osteoarthritis or something like that. It's after it's a problem. Mm-hmm. Then you get it done. And most people actually wait way too long.
Oh yeah.
And word of advice, if anybody out there needs a hip, go get it done now, not just because it supports our industry, but if you don't get it done soon enough, then you're going to need possibly a knee and then possibly an ankle. So people just typically wait too long. So if we can do some predictive medicine where a doctor can look at the data and say, Michael, you're prone to osteoarthritis. It may not make sense for you to do marathons anymore, and maybe you need to do some swimming or some biking, less impact on your body. Those types of things can help the patient in the end. But wearable devices, we've had a company that released a wearable device. Think about it as there's a dock station next to your bed, and it kind of checks in every night, and your doctor can actually look at live data on your range of motion. Are you getting enough exercise? Wow. All the stuff, and how's the implant interacting with the body? So very cool stuff, almost mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we start talking med tech, that's kind of the new face of it. The med tech space has been around for a long time. We've got Medtronic that's in town that's been very pivotal in pacemakers and defibrillators and things like that. So the space has been around, but now there's a little bit more of an intersection between orthopedics and the med tech space.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Ryan, a lot of things to talk about today, but I want to talk a little bit about a critique that I've seen online and wanted to kind of share it with you and get your thoughts on it. There's some people who believe that this $30 million grant is really a sign of weakness. It's a bit of a, oh shoot, we got to do something right now. Mm-hmm. Other people are seeing it as a sign of strength, that we have this capability and we're being proactive. And how do you see it?
I see it, there's an intersection of both. Okay. And I think the weakness is if we don't hang on to what we're known for, we're potentially going to lose it. Sure. Right. And that's the weakness, right? Of things have changed. The marketplace has changed. Things are changing for us. We've got an opportunity. We're kind of at an inflection point. We need to decide which route we're going to go.
Sure.
Where I think it's the extreme advantage is because the state of Indiana would not invest in us in $30 million if they didn't believe that it was going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
And, you probably heard it, and you'll probably keep hearing it, is we were voted as Community of the Year by the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. That's telling, and that says something. And the biggest reason why they picked us as a county, and it wasn't just Warsaw, it wasn't just Winona Lake, it was the entire county. First time in 32 years they've awarded it to a county.
Wow.
And the reason being is because everybody's collaborating so well.
That's great.
And they're seeing that. They're seeing that, kind of down in the Indy donut.
Yeah.
That's telling that there's something happening here. There's something, some might say, in the water.
Ryan, I'm going to kind of ask you another question, just something I'm seeing online. And it's a challenging thought, but it's basically where does the private sector need to own this issue? How does public sector fit into that? It's messy, I know, but what are your thoughts on how public and private sector really come together to solve these types of issues?
Yeah, good question. I think it's an and both situation. To kind of answer that very briefly, we can't do it necessarily on our own.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to ask the question, does the industry need $30 million to kind of sustain itself? I don't think so. It's an $18 billion industry.
Right.
However, our community needs $30 million to sustain the industry that's here.
Yeah.
And that's the investment that the state is seeing, and they want to put it in there. Kind of to the tune of the question, how much do we want government, impact and influence on these types of roles? They're a piece of the puzzle. I don't think they're the whole puzzle, and we don't want them to be the whole puzzle.
Right.
But we want them to be a portion of it. And, it comes back down to the metrics of a return on investment. It's no different than a business.
Mm-hmm.
We're looked at as we're investing $30 million, and what are you going to do with it? It's taken lots of thought, lots of planning to do. Up to this point, we've invested just over a third of the dollars, and we're getting a 6x return on that investment. It's generating $70 million of economic impact of additional investments that are coming out of these projects. So that's hard to not say that's a good move.
Yeah.
And that's progress, and that's good. The question is, would that have happened without the government helping out with this?
Sure.
It'd have been a little bit harder to get that going.
Sure. That makes sense. Could you share a couple ways in which, maybe just for the listener who's not really informed on the different initiatives that you guys are a part of, what are some of the ways that you've seen that 6X come back? Is it?
Yeah. Good example. Good example would be, our housing projects that we're doing. There's a couple housing projects going on in town. Union Station Lofts, which is where the GACI used to be. That was an investment that we put in there. It was about $1.4 million. And I believe that project is anywhere from $20 to $30 million project. So little investment, lots of ROI on that. Yeah. And that comes from a lot of private money coming to our community that probably wasn't going to come to our community before that.
Yeah, I got it. How many people is that providing housing for? It's quite a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the number is 85. They're actually, I had heard actually earlier today, they're opening it up for pre-lease for April or something.
Wow.
Like that.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Moving along.
That is moving along. Well, Ryan, I want to pivot just a little bit and ask you a little bit. I know, you really enjoy leadership, and you enjoy being in a leadership position. What are some of your leadership philosophies? What do you want to be remembered as, and how do you approach your job every day?
I had this epiphany like several years ago when I was in a challenging time as a leader, and I kept wondering why I choose leadership, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
And I look back, and I mentioned earlier I was in Eagle Scouts and I was in sports, and all along the way I've been put in leadership roles.
Yeah.
And it's usually not myself volunteering myself. It's just there's a leader is always needed in any situation.
Yeah. And
somebody's got to do it. So I feel honored to have this responsibility to lead OrthoWorx. Some of the principles that I really hang my hat on is listening well and speaking less. I feel like many leaders kind of lack that at times.
Sure.
And so God's given me a gift to be able to listen and articulate things pretty well. And I find that to be very fruitful in many leadership things. At the same time, being clear with vision and communication. I can be, if you ask my team, I can be a dreamer. I got a whiteboard in my office that's got all sorts of ideas scratched on it.
Good.
And I'll kind of spew that out to everybody. And then they look at me like, what is he saying? So having clear and good communication is a big deal. And I think everybody in every organization is going to say communication is key.
You said, hey, you joined, you got this promotion, and you came behind some really great people, and you also had a great board. Give me a couple of names of people who just really have been instrumental in helping you out. Maybe it's somebody who sits on the board or somebody who's gone out of their way to help you be successful. Yeah, it takes a village to get a lot of this done.
It's a long list. I will say, I think something I missed maybe in the beginning was I've actually been an industry voice to OrthoWorx for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And that was due to a conversation and a relationship with Brad Bishop, who was the original executive director. So we still talk. He's since retired and kind of moved on.
Sure.
And following Bob Vito and his leadership, OrthoWorx about died through COVID.
Yeah.
And we were running low on funds and had one staff member and a small board. And the board believed that we still had plenty of fuel left in the tank. We needed to kind of re-up that. So now I get to be on the receiving end of that. It's a lot of work being done by a lot of people. We've got 19 board members now. We've got 8 people on our staff. We're locked and loaded and ready to go. I think an analogy I use many times is we're like a horse in the Kentucky Derby, just ready for the gate to drop.
That's awesome. Wow. Just a few years ago, really struggling through COVID, and now seems like thriving unbelievably. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that was really interesting. I spent some time overseas in Switzerland, and I understand you recently went over there to study kind of their apprenticeship model. What were some of your takeaways? Let us know just a few things you learned.
Yeah, it was good, and that experience and trip was it was rather interesting. So to name a couple names again, I traveled with Bob Vito prior to me being a part of OrthoWorx, and Dr. Hoffert was with us as well. And then we met Vince Wong, who's the CEO of BioCrossroads, at the airport. So those folks, and then just a number, I think there was maybe 20 to 30 of us total from the state of Indiana that went and did this. And we were part of one cohort. They did this, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, I think, with different industry focus. We were there for healthcare, and it was interesting, not experiencing that education model in the past and understanding workforce and how we've traditionally done it here in the States. It's a different model, and how they go about career discovery is a little bit different model. It sure seemed like everybody we talked to, no matter what job they were doing, we asked them about their apprenticeship experience. It could be somebody that was in hospitality service or whatever, and that's what they did, a part of their apprenticeship, and they found the career that they love. It really seemed like it helped students find a laser focused career that they want to go after. Very heavily involved with industry support, up to including, we toured Novartis, which is a huge, pharmaceutical company. And they mentioned that they have 3,000 apprentices that go through their program, and they have dormitories there. Now, obviously, different landscape over there and public transportation and all that stuff. But just that investment alone in the apprenticeship, obviously it's a different type of society than what we deal with here. So there's some parallels that we can grab. There's some challenges along the way with that model too.
No, that's great. So Ryan, you went on this trip with this amazing group of folks, and you just laid out some challenges and some things that are quite a bit different. But what were the big takeaways as far as things we can apply here? Was there anything that you've had further conversation with Dr. Hoffert about?
Yeah, it's definitely, and I think there's a generational change here as well, is work-based learning, project learning is the way of the future. Getting students exposed to careers in that discovery phase, and then letting them experience it a little bit. And it doesn't have to be, they don't have to be doing the toughest jobs, but understanding what possibilities there are. And I think, kind of breaking some of these myths along the way of, well, it's an orthopedic company and they just manufacture stuff. Well,
Sure.
in order to manufacture stuff, you need all the infrastructure in the front office too. You need finance people, you need accountants, you need quality and regulatory. Like there's more than just manufacturing jobs available. And the model just works really good. I mean, I think, Gen Z is now the second highest employed generation in our country. And they're leaning more towards some of the trades and learn while you earn or earn while you learn mentality.
Certainly.
It's not a bad road to go.
No, it's really not. We've I take a lot of pride in the fact that we've tried to do this at Winona IT as well, whether we've had high school co-op students or we have a pretty robust internship program that we've connected to Grace College on that's been very successful as well. So I think honestly everybody benefits from that. The school, the students, the community. As an employer, we benefit tremendously from that as well. Ryan, one of the questions I wanted to ask you about, I see online quite a bit as I'm reading various comments on news articles. There seems to be kind of two main lines of thinking here. One is to get talent into Kosciuszko County, we need to market ourselves better. And then there's kind of another thought that's, no, we really need to bolster our community and we need to focus on the product of Kosciuszko County, if you would. I tend to think it's somewhere in the middle. I'd love to know your thoughts on the issue.
Yeah, I agree. The answer is somewhere in the middle, as it is with a lot of things. But I think we got to be a little bit careful, kind of making decisions on either spectrum. And a marketing problem, yeah, I think it is. There's this thing called being a humble Hoosier that we're known for. And most of the times we claim it, and then people are like, oh, yeah. We don't like to brag about ourselves as much as maybe somebody on the East Coast. I don't know. But it's something that we don't always – as a Midwestern state, we kind of have our head down and just keep working. That's what we're known for sure. Right? And we're part of this manufacturing belt, and it's our work ethic, and we just, don't need the accolades. We don't need the recognition. We just kind of keep going. And before we know it, we're not marketing ourselves. And if we're not doing it, then who's doing it for us is the challenge. On the product side of things, I definitely think that there's some work to be done there. Some of it is a product. What are we trying to sell as our community? But we need to be very careful that we're not trying to be something that we're not, if that makes sense.
No, for sure.
It's irrational to think that we're going to offer the same things that some of the larger urban cities may have to offer, but we also have some counterparts that are very competitive with them as well. And like I said, I mean, we're seeing a little bit of a mix where future generations might be leaning into that, or they're running away from it. In either case, but we've got a lot of things that we need to leverage in a different way. But we also need to continue to grow and evolve. And that's kind of one of the biggest things that we need to focus on. It's said if you're in a community that's not growing, you're dying. And what are we doing about it?
Yeah. What's one thing that you would recommend we really stop doing in the realm of talent development? Anything we're doing today that you feel like is we're hitting our heads against the wall?
This is a hard one because a lot of times we look back and see what's worked well in the past, and we keep doing that.
Sure.
The problem is that I don't know that that's the product that our future generations want at all.
Sure.
And so there's a balancing point where we need to look back and say, this is what's worked in the past, or this is what hasn't. But also, what are future generations needing? What types of tools can we use? We're looking at, I mentioned the VR headsets. We're looking at doing more of that type of learning. And everything that I'm seeing is there's an 80% retention rate on things that learn through an experience. It just so happens to be a VR experience, right?
Okay.
So whether it's experiential learning, work-based learning, like actually on a manufacturing floor or doing a job, you retain it, much better than if you read it in a book or listen to a presentation or a lecture. Same can be said about VR training. So I think there's the right time and place for that type of stuff. But we can't be so set in our ways of this is how we've done it in the past. And this is how I did it. And this is how somebody before me did it. There's certain things that need to be learned that way, but not all things.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What gives you hope about the next generation workforce?
I'm a big believer in Tim Elmore's book. It Begins with a Z. I think it's his latest book, and it talks about Gen Z in the workplace. And they're changing things for sure. And I would say, some would say challenging, but challenging isn't always a bad thing.
Sure.
And they're breaking some barriers that maybe didn't get broke before. Very entrepreneurial. I think his stat is like 3 out of 5 high schoolers are generating some income somehow through social media or something, that they're working on. Very entrepreneurial in what they think. When we talk with many students, whether it's high school students or college students, a lot of them eventually want to own their own business, and they have that entrepreneurial mindset. That tells me that we're in a good spot for innovation to happen, whether they own their own business or not. I mean, somebody could be an entrepreneur while working for somebody else and be that mindset.
Well, Ryan, with those thoughts on recruitment, how does Grace College really fit into the mix here?
Yeah, I think they fit really well. As a college, they've really evolved over the last 20 years or so to be more than just Grace College, a little college on Winona Lake, to being a part of the community. And one thing, I get a lot of people. I'm a Grace grad. I believe you're a Grace grad as well.
Absolutely.
2-time both, right?
Yep.
A lot of people ask about retention, and they realize that there's a huge retention rate for Grace College graduates in our community.
Yeah.
So that's a huge attraction. I know Dr. Hoffert doesn't have to worry a whole lot about teachers because he gets teachers that come out of Grace College.
Yeah.
That's a huge benefit.
Definitely.
What happens if we do that in the orthopedic industry? And where we're doubling down on that is the Orthopedic Innovation Research Center. We want to have a center of excellence in Warsaw, in the orthopedic capital of the world, that represents research, innovation, and education all coming together.
Wow.
And Grace has done a great job at promoting the industry and helping the industry, supporting the industry by standing up different departments or different degree programs. We actually kicked off the orthopedic MBA program. We're just now interviewing for year 2 of that, and it's specific to the orthopedic industry. They learn about jobs and careers in the orthopedic industry. It's actually has a fellowship associated with it as well. But back to the Orthopedic Innovation Research Center. One of the things we're very excited about that is doing research in the orthopedic capital of the world.
Yeah.
Recently I was at Purdue, and there's some research being done for one of our orthopedic companies here in town, but that's happening at West Lafayette campus.
Yeah.
What were to happen if some of that innovation and research was happening here in Warsaw, in the orthopedic capital of the world, maybe with students a part of it, and we're generating some of that innovation right here where it all began. Yeah,
that's great. Ryan, outside of that research center, I keep hearing about a few other things. Is there anything you can talk to us about the fairgrounds or Winona Ave or a couple of these other initiatives?
Yeah, there's some progress to share. I mean, with each one of these projects, we have a project owner, and those are obviously, heavily with the city and the county for the fairgrounds in particular. Winona Avenue, there's no hiding it. That's a great cultural district that is along there.
Yeah.
At the same time, you might drive down there and you wonder, why is the road like this, or why are the utility poles kind of hanging across the road or hanging the wrong way?
Sure.
And so it's our hope, and we have a little bit of dollars to put towards that. Grace College has some dollars to put towards that we can help spur along some progress along there to kind of beautify that area, make it a main corridor. A lot of people go back and forth between Winona Lake and downtown Warsaw. I go back and forth across there quite a bit. Yeah. And we've got, Lakeview Middle School's right there.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of things that are happening along that area that need to get kind of improved. And so we're working with the city on trying to see what that might look like and see if there's a project we can hang our hat on.
Great. That's great.
From a fairground standpoint, that project is definitely one that can be a little bit controversial. And really the importance of it for us is we want to, no matter where the location is, we want to see a thriving fairgrounds.
Yeah.
For our 4-Hers, for the FFA community, for the ag community.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'll be the first to say, a lot of people talk about orthopedics have been around for 130 years. How long has farming and agriculture been around?
Yeah, a little bit before that.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's a lot of parallels that are happening, and maybe there's more to come with that.
Yeah.
With some plans that are in the works to bolster that, and we have a rich agriculture industry here. But how can we engage the fairgrounds to be used for the community more than a couple times a year?
Mm-hmm.
So that way it gets the best amount of usage. And our support of the project is to kind of see what could be. And then obviously there's got to be some things that come together to make it happen.
Yeah, that's great.
Michael, I don't know if you've checked it out, but there's this great place called allinkosciuszko.com where you can learn about these projects. So as we get updates, there's actually some media, podcasts, things like that. There's a website, there's social media. And that's the reason that we created that brand, is to communicate some of these projects that are happening.
Great.
Both with Grace College and with Ori.
When you are involved in conversations with organizations considering bringing their operations to Kosciuszko County, what's on your cheat sheet of hey, here's the things I'm going to mention?
Yeah, it's good. It happens actually pretty frequently. And it's great to have this opportunity. We have some really good things to offer. Community is number one. And how do you define that? We have a great education system. We have really good natural resources in our lakes, obviously. We have a good mix of, I would say, country and city around here if you want it. It's a great place to raise a family.
Yeah.
We have a low tax rate. It's a great state to do business in.
Yeah.
Generally, it's more welcoming than some other states are to do business in. Geographically, we're at the population center of the United States.
Yeah.
If you think of, if you're car driving within 10 to 12 hours, you're hitting the biggest population of the United States.
Yeah.
And that has some very good implications for whether it's logistics or just moving, for meetings and whatever it might be around the country.
No, that's great. And I won't argue any of those points. I've been the recipient of all of those things as somebody who started a business here in Kosciuszko County. So that's great. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about your passion for the outdoors.
Sure.
I just couldn't have you on and not get into that. So I know there's going to be a lot of eye rolls out there, but talk to me a little bit about Youth in the Outdoors United. Something you started recently. Talk to us about that.
A lot of really good things started in 2009. I got married. OrthoWorx was incorporated.
Great.
There's some other things along the way that have happened. But in there, me and a couple people around the community wanted to be a part of an organization called Ducks Unlimited. And so we sat around a table, and I think I've kind of stumbled in leadership roles at times, just because nobody else would. And okay, we're going to get a group started. We're going to have a committee. We need a leader. And everybody looked at each other, and I raised my hand and said, I guess I'll go ahead and lead this one. So Ducks Unlimited is a national conservation, actually international conservation organization that raises money for wetland conservation. It just so happens that many of the members are hunters because they care about the critters and the wild places that we get to go hunting. And so we started it was called the Wawasee Ducks Unlimited chapter. It's a local chapter. You basically do fundraising efforts to raise funds, and then Ducks Unlimited National reinvest those dollars either in the state or nationally because birds migrate. So our birds, some of them will come from Canada and North Dakota, Minnesota, places like that. So I'm not an event planner. So over time, running, a fundraising event for 15 years, it's just not where my heart is.
Sure.
A couple years into Ducks Unlimited, we started to kind of feel this burning desire to give back to the community. And what we found is we had a lot of young adults or adolescents that wanted to get into hunting, but they didn't know how, or parents that were like, hey, Johnny wants to learn how to shoot a gun. I don't know how to do this. So we started a youth hunt that started at Tri-County Fish and Wildlife Area. It's 3,600 acres actually in our community that a lot of people don't know about.
And you recently got some helped get some funding for that.
We did.
Yeah. That's great.
We helped through our ORI initiative, the CAP program, Community Amenities Program.
Okay.
We were able to gift Tri-County with $50,000 to go towards a 3D archery range.
That's awesome.
That's going to be coming this year. So
that's great. I think some community partners like K21 came alongside as well.
Yep.
That's great.
So we started this youth hunt and really early on, and we started with a small group. I mean, we didn't overcommit ourselves. It was 10 kids that we would take every fall duck hunting. Most of them, have never had the opportunity. Maybe they don't have a mentor with them in life and to hunt and things like that. A lot of single parents were bringing kids to this, and we just saw so many wonderful results of this hunt. So we continued it. We've done it for, I think it's about 12 or 13 years. So do some math. I think I'm a liberal arts guy, but 10 times 12 or 13 is a little over 100 hunting opportunities that we've given to kids. And so through that, we just had a desire of like, man, how do we do more events like this? And so our committee that was running very successful Ducks Unlimited events kind of decided, we're kind of ready to put the pause on fundraising events like this, and let's do some more events with our community. So Youth in the Outdoors actually started as my white paper for the Kosciuszko County Leadership Academy.
Oh, wow.
And it was, we wrote that paper, Bryce Glock, Chris Koldyke, and Eric Hollis were all a part of that group.
Wow.
And we wrote this paper about a clearinghouse to help kids get an opportunity to do outdoor activities with existing organizations.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything like that in the community. And what we found is we would get kids at Ducks Unlimited, but that would be their only activity for the year.
Okay. But
there were other organizations that had youth activities as well. So we wrote this white paper. We actually received the prestigious Gene Northerner Award for the white paper, and just a busy time in life for everybody. And it just kind of sat dormant for a little while. And I'll just say, like, I just had this burning desire of there's something to this in the right time. And so 2 years ago, we all got together as a group, and we're like, we're ready to dust off the paper here and see what we can do. Actually, another KLA group picked it up as their white paper last year, and we just breathed some life into this. So we're going on almost a year of incorporation as a nonprofit organization. Wow. Last year we hosted about 6 events. We have a staple fishing derby that we do in June, and we had 65 kids come out to this fishing derby. We had some private donors that helped us. Every kid got a fishing pole, a tub of worms, a T-shirt.
That's great.
But it's educational and experiential. So we had kids that learned how to cast a fishing rod, how to tie knots. We had conservation officers there talking about boater safety and water safety. Lilly Center for Lakes and Streams, we're talking about water ecology and fish and ID and all that stuff. And we just had a great time with it.
Yeah.
We actually had a boat from, I didn't know this actually until we started Youth in the Outdoors, is that Grace College has a bass fishing club. So we had a boat show up from the bass fishing club.
That's awesome.
And kids were like, wait, I can go to college and I can be a part of a fishing club?
That's great.
Sign me up.
That's great.
So our organization exists to bring those experiences to life. So last year we did that event. We built some wood duck boxes. Wood duck, not to get too nerdy on you, but wood ducks are cavity nesters. So they nest in holes in trees, and they're very prone to raccoons getting in there and eating the eggs or eating the little ducks. So you make a box that's safe and secure for wood ducks to nest in, and they nest in our area quite a bit. So we do that event out at Tri-County. We do our fishing derby in June. We help out with Camp Mullenhour, which is another hidden gem in Silver Lake area here in our county. It's a conservation camp in the summer, and we help out with some instruction there. And then we did an archery event, and I would say this one was like the pinnacle of what we wanted to do. So we partnered with Burkholder Archery, which is kind of on the northern part of our county, to host this event. And as we were working on the planning of this event, all of a sudden somebody goes, "Hey, I know a couple ladies that could probably help you out." And we got in contact with a couple ladies that teach NASP. It stands for National Archery in Schools Program. So they're certified instructors. They say, "We've got an entire trailer full of archery equipment." And so they bring their trailer, they bring their program, and they just said, "Bring us the kids."
That's amazing.
And so we brought 35 kids. Most of them have never shot archery before.
Okay.
And they got 2 hours of instruction. I think it was August or September. And the archery shop was very gracious, and they gave every kid that wanted to buy a bow a discount. I think we had 5 bows go home with kids.
Wow.
That day.
That's awesome.
And we had a lot of parents at the end that were getting pretty competitive too. So that event's going to be coming back. But
that's great.
There's something that happens with kids in the outdoors, and they develop a passion that they could take with them the rest of their life.
Yeah.
We've seen kids that are super quiet that just open up about something with the outdoors, and they want to learn things. And parents are just so gracious that we're here to do that. So, we're a small organization. We're super excited about what we're doing. It's hard to say no to having events, every month. We're probably not going to do that because remember, I didn't want to do a bunch of event planning, but it's great. The goal of our organization is to get kids experiences, to match them up with mentors in our community, but then also to highlight some of the businesses in our community that can help them. So in the example of the archery shop, if somebody wants to go, they probably didn't know we had an archery shop like Burkholder Archery, where if they have any questions, they can go right there and ask them, or if they need equipment as they continue to grow. We've got a young gentleman from the Webster area that has done 4-H archery, and he just like 2 weeks ago competed in a national archery competition in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and he got 5th.
Wow.
And he has found a passion. I've hung out with him enough to know that he knows what he wants to do.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So if people want to support this organization, what are some ways they can support it? I know you're probably always needing a volunteer for something, but what are a couple ways people can support the group, the nonprofit? Yeah.
As traditional nonprofits go, I mean, we're a 100% volunteer organization. So helping in any way, we've got a 7-person board. We've got a roster of about 40 or 50 volunteers that help out in various capacities. It could be one event. We had an old gentleman that said, "If I bring my lawn chair, can I weigh fish at the fishing derby?" Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And so any help, we'll take it. Obviously, financial support is something that we could use. Our goal is to make these events free or very accessible to anybody, no matter what their socioeconomic status is, because anybody can experience this stuff. And kids we had a bucket full of fishing lures, and kids get excited about rubber worms.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
If you've got some gear that's maybe old or outdated, or you just got stuff that you don't want, we'll take all the donations you got.
Yeah.
My barn might get a little bit full, but we'll deal with that when it comes. But we're still in our infancy phase. We're working on a branding and marketing campaign, working on a website, all that type of stuff. So the easiest way is to probably reach out to me, or we do have a Facebook page. But
great. And that's just Youth in the Outdoors United. That's the Facebook page.
Right.
Great. Mm-hmm. Great. Favorite outdoor moment recently? What comes to mind?
Oh man. Recently, I would say last spring, I was able to take a trip with my dad and my son. And it was very special. To be able to do a trip. We went to Nebraska turkey hunting. Turkey hunting is done in the spring. My dad retired a couple years prior, and so celebrate him with my son. We pulled him out of school.
That's great.
He did all his schoolwork ahead of time, but just to be chasing wild critters in wild places was a lot of fun together. And we had a great hunt. We had great conversation, and we really enjoyed it.
Those are special moments together. Is this you have to remind me, I might be wrong. Is this the one where you had a crazy truck breakdown incident? Is this the one?
We did.
What happened there?
So it's 100% Ryan's fault. And I had a newer truck, kind of prior to this trip, new to me truck. We got done with the hunt, and out there it's just, acres, just miles of just open prairie. And this farmer lets us hunt. It's a big pasture field, and he has a number of fences to get back to kind of the hunting area. And he's got a 4x4 lane where you have to have 4x4 to get down it. And so we get done with our hunt, and I go to turn around and I hear crunch, and I was like, man, I wish I'd have seen that. I mean, the grass is like, 8 or 10 inches tall. I wish I'd have seen whatever that was. I didn't think anything of it. We get rolling down the lane, and I go up a hill, and my truck starts to slide backwards as I put my foot on the gas. And I get under the truck, and there's transmission fluid just pouring out of the bottom of it. Yeah. And so there we are, about a mile and a half off the road, 3 fences back, and actually very little cell phone service and very little cell phone battery.
Perfect storm.
It was awesome. So thankfully we had some provisions to be able to kind of keep us over for a little while. And my friend that lives out there came and towed us out. Okay. But then it turns into, okay, now we need to fix the truck. It was going into Memorial Day weekend. And so we were supposed to leave the next day. Wow. And, how do we go about this? And I drive a Toyota Tundra. Some of those parts aren't always easy to come by.
Sure.
God has his hand on that situation for sure. We got my best friend, the town we stay in has maybe population of 200. And he's like, if you need your truck worked on, you need to call Joe. So literally got a contact named Joe, who's the only mechanic in town. And
wow.
just so happened he was open to help us out. We got all the stuff. We actually got delayed a day. The wrong part came to the Toyota dealership, and but that gave us the opportunity to get one more hunt together.
Nice.
So
yeah, that worked out.
And it was on my dad's birthday, so
great.
We got an extra hunt.
I've got to mention one of my favorite moments of the last couple months. Had an incredible opportunity to hunt with you and some other really good folks just a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. And I almost filmed you straight up tackling a goose off the ground, and I'm so mad I didn't get it on video.
I'm glad you didn't.
That would have been cut into this podcast, but that was just an incredible time. I also want to mention something. I know you know this, but for the audience, I've hunted for 20 years, but I've never got an opportunity to really learn on the waterfowl side ever. Mm-hmm. And so my son and I attended your youth duck hunt for the Youth and Outdoors United this year. That was his first waterfowl hunt. That was probably my second ever, or, for sure less than 5. Had such a great time. I actually just forgot all the other hunting I enjoyed doing and really focused on that this year. And it was just an amazing opportunity for me and my son Jackson. And your whole point, I think what you're out there to try to do, I really saw that play out in my life this year with my son. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she's not thrilled.
I keep telling Steph sorry every time I see her.
Yeah, and you probably ought to. I probably owe her a couple of those as well.
I think there needs to be like a support group.
I think so.
Hunting wives.
After you get Youth and the Outdoors United into spot, then create that support group.
Got it.
Yeah, I think Steph would join. So, but thank you for everything you do there. I think that's great for the community.
Thank you.
I want to tie that into some of our earlier conversation, though. How does some of what you're trying to do with the outdoors in general, or you mentioned the funds that went to Tri-County, how does that tie into, how does quality of life tie into economic development and talent recruitment and retainment? I mean, people are looking for a place they can move with opportunities to live the life they want to live and be healthy and be outdoors. I mean, it's all tied together, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think the best way to kind of think about that is, we all do different things for entertainment or hobbies or whatever it might be. And we got to think about the things that people leave our community for, right? So think about what you go to maybe Fort Wayne or Indianapolis for. Are there any of those things that we can bring here? Mm-hmm. Maybe not at the largest scale. I don't think we're going to move the Indy 500 up here.
Sure.
But is there something, that could be in our backyard? Yeah. That could support that, but leaning into the things that, we're known for. Obviously I'm a fan of the outdoors and archery. We don't have the closest range to this is up in LaGrange County. and it's called Pine Knob. It's very similar. But let's talk about that example of the economic impact. So there's a group of folks that kind of started with that plan, and their goal is to get to a point where they can host competitions, on the weekends. There's people that do that. They travel there's a series, and they travel every weekend to shoot these competitions. And those people need to buy gas. They need to buy food. They maybe even stay the night for a multi-day thing. They're going to shop at our shops. They're going to go to our stores. Yeah, and that's true economic impact of what those things can do. Other things like we recently announced helping Silver Lake with a community center. Yeah, that's big. Silver Lake's community center is going to be a hub for people to gather. Things to do. I'm from the Syracuse area. We've got a community center in Syracuse, and that facility is used all year round by lots of people. And it could be for a party, it could be for a celebration, it could be for something for the community, or maybe even a Pinewood Derby competition for Cub Scouts.
Sure. Yeah, a lot there.
Yeah.
Well, let's end talking a little bit on the future. And one of the big questions I had for you is if we could fast forward 10 to 20 years from now, and your role as CEO of OrthoWorx was a success, what would it look like?
Yeah, great question. Deep question. Success to me looks like building upon a solid foundation that happened before me. And our team is so powerful, and the teams that have been in the past have been very powerful. But we're in a very good spot to help bolster our local ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And when I say local, we've been known for being mostly Kosciuszko County in the past. And I've been known to say this quite often. Between here and Fort Wayne, there's about 100 companies that support the orthopedic industry in some way.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a pretty good cluster. We actually are in the middle of a study right now with some researchers, and they double-checked a couple things because they said we're so far off the charts specialized in orthopedics. There's nothing like it they've ever seen before.
Wow.
And so making that known, to answer your question about marketing and what the product is, making that known, I do believe that there's a paradigm shift that's happening in our local ecosystem. If you look back 10, 15, 20 years ago, a lot of our supply chain that was here was because of the big guys being here, right?
Yeah.
Your DePuy, Zimmer, Medtronic, and all the supporting companies and organizations were here because of them.
Yeah.
I think this paradigm's shifting a little bit, and it's becoming where our ecosystem is so strong that they shouldn't have a reason to not be here.
Sure.
And we actually have lots of opportunities where companies are coming to our community from either outside the state or outside the country and looking to put a Warsaw address under their name. So long explanation.
Sure.
Short summary is success is bolstering what we have, paving a way in the future into the unknown. I mean, it's wild to think with where things are in 5 to 10 years, what the industry is going to look like. I think we want to be known as an organization that supports the change that's moving in a way that's positive for the entire community.
Yeah, that's great. Final question here for you. If you were not leading OrthoWorx right now, what problem would you love to be working on? What would you see yourself doing?
Man, I'd be leaning on something in the outdoors of some sort, of how to continue to solve the problem with getting kids more exposure. I mean, kids, I think my kids are closer than others, but I feel old saying this, but kids these days don't experience the outdoors like we used to.
Sure.
And so I think I'd be pretty bent on trying to solve that and just finding a way to have a career pursuing adventures in the outdoors.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for giving us the history and everything you guys are working on. And we appreciate everything you're doing.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us on today's episode of Wired for Growth. I hope you found the conversation with Ryan insightful and informative. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, Check out our YouTube channel for video episodes and clips, and connect with us on LinkedIn to stay up to date on future conversations. Your support helps us continue bringing meaningful stories and ideas to the table. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Wired for Growth.